Greetings, everybody. Welcome back to Poke Relaxing. Hope everybody's doing great out there. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the things that I am trying to pick up in my sort of collecting / inventory building. And there's a little rumbling thunderstorm outside. Very sort of one of those relaxing musical backgrounds, the sounds of rain. But I wanted to talk about some of the things that I've been picking up that I, find compelling enough to spend money on these days to acquire. And in the process of kind of showing you what I've got and why I'm interested in it, I'd like to talk just kind of about some of my general thoughts about aspects of the Pokemon market. This is largely going to be kind of a investing / market video, which is a topic that I pay a lot of attention to, watch a lot of content on, and think about quite a bit. So sometimes I like to share my thoughts about this stuff and show you some cool stuff along the way. So let's jump right in here and show you the first thing I've got. I can do some kind of zoom ins here. So I've got 3 additional Fusion Strike booster boxes, and I currently have, I think only 2. Let's see here. Yeah, I think I only have. Maybe I have 2. Maybe I have 3. I don't know. But I have either 2 or 3. Sorry about that, folks. 2 or 3 Fusion Strike booster boxes. Other than these are the ones I've just received. And I will say these are a little bit kind of not the best condition. There's definitely some kind of dents and dings on the boxes, and the wrap is kind of loose, which is definitely a phenomenon that happens in Sword and Shield era booster boxes. I have quite a few booster boxes like that. Like I have a case of Brilliant Stars that I opened, the case myself, and several of the boxes in there had pretty loose wrap on it. So it definitely is something that seems to happen with Sword and Shield era booster boxes. But I picked these up, and some of the other things you'll see in this video in the Sword and Shield era, because I believe that we are right now at a point where we're likely to not have the opportunity to buy Sword and Shield products at the prices they're at for possibly ever, but certainly not for a long time, I don't think. It's a little bit of music in the background, but it's relaxing music, so that's okay. We can relax to it here on Poke Relaxing. But I have a relatively small amount of Sword and Shield era product. I do have some exposure to it, and I do have, for example, cases of, I have a lot of Vivid Voltage, because that was sort of the last to go out of stock at Pokemon Center. So I thought, what, every other Sword and Shield set at Pokemon Center has gone out of stock, so I better stock up on this if I want to have a chance to get this, at MSRP pricing. And so I did pick up an extra, 3 cases on top of like the 2 that I had. And I don't think I bought Battle Styles, which I regret, because I wish I had more of that. I think I have 2 cases of Battle Styles, which I bought a long time ago, which is like a year ago. And in any event, I do have, I do have some cases of stuff, and I do have cases of like, I think I have a case of Lost Origin, I have the case of Silver Tempest, and I might have one other that I'm forgetting from Sword and Shield era. But other than those, I don't have a ton of loose booster boxes. And you're probably saying to yourself, well, gee whiz, you have more Sword and Shield than I have of anything, and that may be true. But I'm comparing, how much Sword and Shield I have to how much Scarlet and Violet I have, which is, like 90% of what I own for Pokemon cards. And really feeling like, gee whiz, I wish I had a bit more Sword and Shield stuff. And so right now where we are in the market is, Sword and Shield got super hot, something like, I don't know, 6 months ago, 7 months ago. And, all-time highs were hitting like every day on all the booster boxes. And then they kind of cooled down, something like, I don't know, 3 months ago. And these are wild guesses. I may be totally off, but basically the concept is true, which is that there was a real high peak and a lot of quick rise in all the Sword and Shield boxes, and then a lot of them dropped. Like these Fusion Strikes, I think, were like $800-900 a box at their peak, and then and I feel like they almost closed in on 1,000 if I'm not mistaken, but I might be thinking of like 900. And so, there was a sense that if you had missed the train of the Sword and Shield kind of express, that, things were going to be very expensive, and, it was going to be difficult to pick them up. So I didn't pick up any then. And then, when things cooled down, like three months ago or so, and like, Fusion Strike boxes went back to, gee whiz, I don't remember exactly, but I want to say it was like, they might have gotten back to like 550 or 600 range, and maybe even slightly below 550. Then you sort of felt like, well, am I catching a falling dagger, trying to get these as they're coming down off some pretty significant highs. Or is this, the time to strike because it's only going to last a few moments? Well, that time period, I feel, lasted quite a long time, and right now we're starting to see a lot of people talking about, Sword and Shield, getting kind of ready to take off again, and I'm, sort of asking myself, well, is now the time to buy? Maybe not, when everything was dipping off of the all-time highs, but now we've sort of been stagnant for a while. Prices have sort of stabilized. Is now the time to buy, because it doesn't seem like they're going to drop lower. And the conclusion I came to recently, which was sort of spurred by, somebody local here where I am asking, to buy some of my Sword and Shield boxes, and I looked at the inventory I had, and I felt like there's just a lot of sets that I don't have, nearly the quantity of product that I would like to have. And there's some sets, like Chilling Reign, I don't have a single booster box right now of Chilling Reign, so I have no exposure to that in terms of booster boxes. So, that sort of made me think, well, gee whiz, how hard is it going to be to replace, these boxes if I were to sell them off? And so, I went and looked at pricing, and I definitely did not see a lot of great pricing out there, but I saw a little bit. And when I see just kind of a little bit of good pricing, it makes me think I should snatch that up before it disappears, and then I'm stuck with, kind of the higher rates that exist, in addition to the better price stuff. So that's basically what I did. I started kind of looking around, seeing Fusion Strike was definitely one that I felt I had, just not enough. Considering that it is likely to be $1,000 booster box within probably 6 months, if you kind of believe what a lot of people think, but maybe it won't be. But the point is, it's really the second right now. It's the second most valuable booster box after Evolving Skies, and I just felt like I had like 2 or 3 boxes of it. I should really get some more. So I got 3 more, and again, these are pretty beat up, so not the best, but I got a really good price on them. I think I paid like $650 or something for them, and right now they're already up to like 800. So I'm happy to have them, even though they're a little bit well loved, or maybe not loved enough. But so that's one thing, is these Fusion Strikes. Oh, I did actually get from the seller some extra freebie packs because the boxes were so beat up, and he also reached out to me and said, he wanted to make sure that I knew what I was getting into. So I guess let's maybe stay on Sword and Shield. So this is not like a super new purchase. I picked these up maybe back to the wide angle. Yeah, so these are the so I picked these up maybe like 3-4 weeks ago. So this is the Legendary Warriors Premium Collection, and it was a Walmart exclusive that I think was initially released at Black Friday in 2024, so like fall of 2024, right after Thanksgiving. And I actually went to my local Walmart to see if I could find these things, and I had no luck whatsoever. They did come up online, but I wasn't really paying attention and didn't have a chance to get any, so I never got any of these, but they always seem really cool. And I think they were actually, gosh, I think Black Friday they were like $40 each, but I feel like MSRP on a box like this is something like $59.99. And that's what I paid for these because they showed up at Walmart suddenly, and I happened to be a Walmart like Plus members, and so Walmart has done a couple of times a release of a product where if you have a Walmart Plus account, it's like whatever, $80 a year or something, then you have a little bit earlier access to stuff than the general public. So I think only because of that, I was able to get a handful of these. I think I had like 5 or 6 of them, and they're really cool. They have 14 booster packs and some kind of useless Zamazenta and Zacian promos, but the packs are Silver Tempest, Astral Radiance, Lost Origin. I think that's it, just those 3. So probably Astral is the weakest of those, but Silver Tempest and Lost Origin, very good sets with very big dollar alt art cards in there. So I was happy to pick these up. This is kind of like a no-brainer, because if you get any Sword and Shield product at MSRP, I mean, it's a no-brainer. I mean, these already sell for $120, $130. Okay, and then let's see, this one for maybe last. Okay. All right. Here we go. Just pull this out of the box here that it was shipped in. So this is a very nice case. Although a little bit of marking on the label, not a big deal. This is a very nice case in very nice condition of Silver Tempest booster boxes, and I bought this from one of the big 3 kind of sports card retailers, Steel City Collectibles, and I paid $2,400 for this. I think I had like a $25 off credit from buying some stuff from them over the years, and so that was a little bit of $400 a box is a bit of a premium over what you could get these for on, say, TCG Player. But there are boxes of this that are selling for $400 each on eBay. But basically, I could chase around loose boxes I generally never buy on TCG Player because they don't have a way for me to not pay sales tax, which is generally how I buy everything because, I'm a reseller, I have a resale certificate, and I should be able to buy everything without paying sales tax because it's being purchased for resale, and then, people who buy from me pay sales tax if they live within my state. So I don't buy from TCG Player. Sometimes I wish I could because they do have the best price sometimes on stuff, but without being able to go on TCG Player, I'm usually looking around at like independent shops online, like the one that I have, hotcardboard.com, and seeing if I can find stuff. There's also a dealer-to-dealer marketplace called DealerNet that I often will check, but that has recently become very difficult to buy anything on just for lack of inventory. I think there's so much demand on there for Pokemon cards that nobody wants to sell and everybody wants to buy. So, I kind of search the internet and see what I can find, and in this case I found what I thought was a very good price on this stuff. And Steel City and DA Card World and like Blowout generally either don't charge sales tax, or they do give you the opportunity to have a resale certificate on file on your account so you can order and not pay sales tax if you're a reseller like I am. So anyways, $400 a box, 4 boxes inside here that I'm guessing are very pristine because this case is in really nice shape, and I'm sure it was sent to them, directly by their distributor back in 2020. All right, this is a second printing, so it doesn't have the date on it, but I think this stuff came out in like 2022. And anyways, super happy to have another Sword and Shield booster box case. And, if I can find booster box cases at roughly the price of, the market price of a booster box times 6, I will do that all day. But usually there's a premium on the sealed booster boxes for reasons that I certainly appreciate and understand, but the general market doesn't necessarily put a premium on sealed cases in all instances. But I think that in the next 2, 3, 4 years, the market generally will place a very significant case premium on every sealed case of ETBs, of booster booster boxes, and like bundles and some of the more common products. So that's my prediction for the next 2, 3 years. And because of that, I'm always very happy to pick up a really nice sealed case in sharp condition. So this goes on the wall of cases, which is kind of growing beyond its bounds very quickly, and might have reached its capacity once Mega Evolutions comes out and I get those cases. So that's another Sword and Shield era pickup that we're going to put this. That I was very happy to get. All right, so next up, this box here, this Amazon box, you can see, is filled with, this has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of these guys. And this is just the ETB of the one of the two, most recent Sword and Scarlet and Violet era releases. This is Black Bolt. And I got a fair amount of Black Bolt White Flare from my distributor. Some of that I've sold off. A lot of the sealed stuff, like the sealed ETB cases that I didn't sell, are in kind of cold storage for the long haul. And I have thought often after thinking about this set and kind of learning how they were going to make this set very different than really every past sets with like, I forget what it is, there's like 60 illustration rares in both Black Bolt and White Flare, and there's like whatever it is, like 12 or so SIRs on top of that, making this set like by far out of any set, even the glorious Crown Zenith, which has so many full arts, so many pulls you can get, this set is by far the most sort of generous when it comes to the amount of illustration rares and special illustration rares inside. And that makes me very excited about it. I think in time, this Black Bolt White Flare stuff will, be fondly thought of because people just love, sets with a lot of pulls that have good pull rates because the opening experience is very fun. And that means that, people kind of have a soft spot in their heart for it. And I think that's how I will think of this, in years to come. And, I'm still kind of excited to open more of this. I've opened, between my kids and I, which basically means my kids, we've opened maybe 4 ETBs, maybe 2 black Bolt and 2 white Flare, and maybe a couple of tins and a collection box, like a poster collection, or 2, and that's kind of it. But I would love to open just a crap ton of this stuff, but right now the market price is like $8 to $9 a pack, so it's sort of difficult to convince yourself to spend that kind of money on opening stuff. But who knows? Maybe it'll come down a bit, and I can get a bunch of, at quantity some way, somehow. But I don't know. So basically, bottom line is I wanted to have more of this particular set, Black Bolt. I think Black Bolt's a stronger. Oh, the other thing I'll say is the the big chase cards in this, are an all white, like a monochrome looking Zekrom and a monochrome card of Reshiram. One's black, one's white, matching the colors of those Pokemon. And then there's an all red Victini card. And I think those cards are so cool looking and so unique that time will I think treat those cards very kindly, and I think people will want to pull them, and I think that they'll appreciate this set more as we get kind of a little bit distanced from it, just because I think a lot of people, I don't know, they're sort of down about the state of or the lack of availability of products right now in Pokemon, and their sort of gut reaction to every new set is that it's being overly hyped. So it's kind of like, I feel like the default kind of take on new sets right now, and I feel like this has happened with Journey Together, and to some extent happened with Destined Rivals, other than the fact that the price of Destined Rivals is certainly suggesting that the market thinks it's good, but I think collectors aren't necessarily willing to admit their excitement about it now just because it's too soon after the release. But in time, I think as these sets get a bit more fair of a shake from collectors, we will collectively realize how special and how different and unique and how cool the innovations that Pokemon put into this set are. And so for that reason, I wanted to try and pick up more of it if I could. And so the way I picked this up is I bought 20 boxes from Amazon.com, and I think they might even still have these, but they were available for like weeks at the price point I got them at, which was like $67 plus tax, unfortunately, since I have no way to avoid tax on Amazon. But basically, I call it $70 a box for these, and that's still pretty good. I think market price on these is like $80. So I'm sure if I I don't know, shopped around Facebook Marketplace or kind of the back alleys of the internet for stuff, I could have gotten pricing that's the same. But for me to buy from Amazon is so easy, and I also know I haven't looked through all of the 20 that I bought yet, but I did see kind of a big dent on the larger box of these, and I know that if there's any condition problems, I can complain to Amazon, and they'll give me a refund and let me return it, or probably what they would do is just have me keep it and refund me, which they have done in the past with kind of smaller ticket items. I guess maybe $70 for one of these is enough to have them, give me a return label or something. But I know if there's condition issues, I'm probably covered with Amazon, so I was happy to buy from them. So I'm glad I got a chance to pick some additional, Black Bull up, and I'll probably still be looking for a while, especially if the market remains like tepid on that, and if prices come down on those sets, I'm going to be, happy to pick them up. So, all right, I think we're ready for the last thing. And by the way, I've got lots of stuff coming in every week that kind of fits the theme. I'm just ordering more and more Sword and Shield booster boxes, and those are just kind of coming in slowly. So maybe I'll do this again in a couple weeks. But I used to do these videos, or I used to sort of plan to do these videos like every week, but I really slowed down my buying a lot. In the past, 6 months. But I still could have done them, but I don't know, I just didn't have as much to show, so I didn't want to do them. Anyway, so we're ready for the last item. Okay. So this one is pretty awesome. And this is, for those of you not familiar with some of the kind of older Pokemon sets, not that this is like super old, but right now, we're in the Scarlet and Violet era, really at the end of it. And before that, there was Sword and Shield, and before that, there was Sun and Moon. And a lot of Sun and Moon boxes right now are, going up $1,000. I think the cheapest Sun and Moon box is probably $700 or $800, and most Sun and Moon boxes are over $1,000 at this point. So that's like, 2 generations back from the current generation. But before Sun and Moon, there was X and Y. And all of those boxes are, kind of minimum. The cheapest XY box, I think, is actually the only one that I have a case of, because it was so cheap. Like a year ago when I bought it, it was like 400, I want to say it was either 300 or 400 a box, times 6 for this case of XY product. And it was Steam Siege, which is, at the time anyways, it was universally seen to be the worst set of all time, I guess, but certainly the worst set of the X and Y era. And I have that case, and those boxes are now selling for $1,300 a piece, which I think might be, I think that's still the cheapest, actually, XY set. So it's still the worst set in XY, but the worst set in XY is $1,300. And there are now boxes in XY that are selling for $10,000. And everything else, is somewhere in between, probably usually around $2,000 to $5,000. So that's XY. So then you go back one more era, and you're in black and white. And I don't think this is I don't have a single black and white era box other than this one. So I didn't before this arrived. So I'm super excited to have it. And I think that when you get back to the black and white era, what you see is, if you're trying to pick these up, like, the chances to buy them are very few and far between. And often there can be, 3, 4, 5 months between sales. So it's kind of hard to, figure out what comps are, particularly in a situation where, like, XY era stuff and Sun and Moon era stuff is going up like every week, sometimes every day, in value. So it was kind of an adventure to figure out what to do with this. But basically, I had a chance to buy this particular box, and this is a really crispy box. There is only a fold here on the, you can see that on the top where it perforates, so it gets a little thin on the right and left sides there of the top of the box, and it has got a little fold there over here. That's just a kind of little fold, but everything else is super crispy and tight on this thing. And I had a chance to buy this for $6,000, folks. So I said, okay, well, let's figure out what we think this is worth. And if you look on eBay, there's like one of these boxes that's listed for $10,000. And other than that, that's kind of it. That's kind of it. The only comp that was showing up from the last like 3 months was from May. Okay? So that's like 3 months ago. And at that time, one of these boxes sold for $5,200. So you might think, well, okay, that's the most recent comp, $5,200. You have the chance to buy it for $6,000. That's overpriced. But folks, if you looked at what the comps were on XY boxes that sell way more often than anything black and white, or the comps on Sun and Moon boxes, which are even more common than XY, and you compare what the comps were in May of this year to what they are now, it's, 2x, 3x price appreciation. So I think that based on that, you could easily argue that the right price for this box is 2x or 3x, what it was going for in May. Now, clearly the market doesn't really agree with that, because there's one of these listed for $10,000, which somebody could buy at any time if they felt, that this is worth 2x the $5,200 price from May. But I don't know. I think if I had to guess, I would say the market price on this, if it was auction, is probably going to be like $8,000 to $9,000. And there are no other opportunities to buy this box other than at like shows or something. And so I just think this was a crazy good deal. I'm super excited to have it. I think if you auctioned one of these on eBay, it would probably sell for, $9,000 or so. And probably easily so, would be my guess. But that was the kind of the thought process that I went through. And I wish I had more opportunities to buy older boxes, some of the EX era boxes. There are some of them listed on eBay, but they're all generally pretty high priced, and so it's hard to buy something online that way on eBay. Although I guess you're more protected on eBay than a lot of places, so maybe I'll have to reconsider that philosophy. But in any event, I am constantly looking for these kinds of opportunities. Unfortunately, I do not get to go to these large conventions where you see more of this stuff. I have been to a large convention in Minneapolis, and they did have a lot of boxes. But I gotta say, I really hate when you go there and like they don't have pricing on anything, and that's kind of what I was up against. I didn't really want to interrogate anybody for their pricing, and so the one dealer that had stuff like this there, I just sort of said, what, not worth it. These days, who knows? If I went back, maybe I would be a little bit more motivated to try to figure out if a deal could be made on something. But the other thing is, when you're buying from a dealer at a show and you don't really know them, it's a bit hard to get comfortable, with the many risks there can be when buying stuff like this. This I know is legit. It was purchased from a long-time dealer, and they had pulled it from a case, that they opened. They were selling many other very cool boxes from Sun and Moon and stuff. So I think this has very good kind of history behind it, and I was happy to buy it, from the place that I did, or the person that I did. All right, folks, that's what we got today. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope you're finding awesome stuff out there, and I hope you occasionally hit a restock at a Target or a Walmart, and you can open up some packs for not too much money. I'll be continuing to kind of try to pick up things I believe in, that I'm excited about, and I'm happy to have on my shelves for however many years I can, manage to find space for them. So we will see y'all next time. Until then, stay relaxed. Bye now.